Welcome to the Bread and Bars podcast. My name is Sean. I'm your illustrious host, and we're back again for a third episode. I want to thank everybody once again for watching, for subscribing, for liking, for commenting in the last two videos we did. So this is the third episode, and we're just going to go ahead and jump in. If you see me looking over to the side, it's because I got notes. I don't want to lose track of what I'm talking about because I get excited sometimes, and I don't want to just get off track. I want to make sure this message gets out there. So once again, my name is Sean. Today we're going to talk about the cost of thinking bigger. Have you ever had a thought? You ever had a dream? You ever had an idea that came out of nowhere? Sometimes it comes out of a place of despair. Sometimes it comes out of a place of creativity. Sometimes it comes out of a place of discomfort. And you choose to, for some reason, you choose to express that dream, or you express that desire to a loved one, a friend, just in conversation that comes up. And instead of being met with, oh my, that's a great idea. That's amazing. I've never thought of anything like that before. You're going to be amazing at that. Instead of that, most of the things that you get would be, you're crazy. There's no way in the world that you're going to be able to do that. Nobody in your family has ever done that. None of your other friends have done that. You think you can really do that? Come on. Or they may not be so bold and say that to you, but when you say things, that person is like, yeah, okay. Right? Again, it may not be their words, but their actions describe that way. And sometimes it's multiple people that's like that. Sometimes the only support you get is from a complete stranger. What do you do in a situation like that? How do you manage in a situation like that? Well, let me tell you this. If you ever felt that way, congratulations. You are in a company of legends. So there are a few people over history who have had these enormous ideas and these enormous thoughts that shook the world, or that had the potential to shake the world. But at the time, in the present moment, when that idea was created, when that person went into the darkness or went into the nothingness and brought out this idea, it was their idea, right? They didn't get it from anybody else. It was their idea alone. And they chose to express that idea. Somehow, by them expressing that idea, it caused people to kind of turn on them. Not necessarily go against them, but really not be there to support them when they need it in that way. So what happens in that situation is you find yourself getting discouraged. And it's easy to get discouraged, right? You've expressed something that everybody else around you has no idea what you're talking about, right? A few examples is Jesus, number one, right? Probably one of the most misunderstood figures in history. Even those people that claim to understand him truly don't understand his message or his way of being. Prime example of that is when he did walk the earth, right? And I'm not saying this to preach to you or anything like that, or to give you a whole bunch of Bible scriptures, right? You don't necessarily need that from me. But when he walked the earth, what happened was he came with a message of love, peace, connection to God, being one with God, and how the kingdom of God is in you, and forgiveness, right? That was his message. But the elders or the authorities at the time was more like, you can't say that to people. You can't tell somebody that they're forgiven of their sins. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And he said, well, I'm the Son of God. We're one. You can't say that. The reason why they said that is because they couldn't say that. They didn't believe that, right? And so as a result of that, they turned on him in a way where they crucified him, they lied on him, they beat him. You know the story. And that's one example. I feel like the bigger the vision, the most opposition you're going to get to it, right? If you have a small vision, you might get some pushback here and there, right? But if the larger the building, the larger the vision is, or the larger the impact or the potential impact of that vision is, the more scrutiny you're going to get from the people around you. It could be loved ones, it could be friends, it could be trusted people around you, right? Co-workers, whatever the case may be. But what happens is you have to stay consistent in that. You got to realize that the vision was given to you. It wasn't given to them. You really can't expect them to to hold your vision the way you will. It's like if you have a baby, you can't expect somebody to hold your baby like you do, right? If you have a car, you can't expect anybody to drive your car like you do, right? Because it belongs to you. It was given to you. Now, it is eventually something that you will share with the world, or actually, it's the outcome of that vision is what you will share with the world. But the process itself and the creation of it itself, you have to incubate that and keep it within yourself. So that way you can stay encouraged, right? You can stay on path to whatever the path is that you have to get to, whatever the path is that you have to travel to get to that place. You have to stay on that path consistently, without fail, without discouragement. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you will get discouraged because you know what? We are human, right? Jesus was one example of that. And you might say, okay, that's Jesus. Jesus could push through that because he was the Son of God. Okay. Well, guess what? We got other examples of that. We got let's see, Nikola Tesla. Now, this was a man that they were thought was certified crazy, right? It had nothing to do with his belief system and whatever God or whatever religion he serves or anything like that. The way he saw things, as far as what he thought that we could do with electricity and how electricity can travel to different things, not only was his ideas out of the ordinary, but it was contradictory to uh, principles, a concept that was already in place, right? We already had the light bulb created by Thomas Edison. We already had that. But Nikola Tesla was like, well, we can do different things with current than just put it in a light bulb. And he was like, no, you can't because it's no, because and now watch this. Thomas Edison was also met with a lot of scrutiny in the beginning of his journey. So these people have just come to the point where they understood or they accepted Thomas Edison's way of thinking, right? So it's fresh on their minds that okay, look, this was crazy, but we're gonna go with this. Now, what you're talking about, Tesla? Come on, now you can't be serious, right? So that was in his time, right? And he went on, from what I understand, he went on to having better relationships with the opposite sex, right? I think it says something like he died a virgin or whatever the case may be. So it wasn't connecting, right? This is just about electricity. He had a lot of other thoughts that people just thought he was just nuts, right? The same thing with Albert Einstein. Now we all revere Albert Einstein as one of the smartest guys ever. But back in his time, he was probably one of the most craziest people, right? If he didn't, I don't know if they admitted him into a crazy house or if they had a thing like that back then. Um, but he was one of them. However, um, Albert Einstein, legend has it, uh, he was not shy with the ladies like Nikola Tesla was. So I guess he knew how to kind of adjust his crazy a little bit. Um, but still, he was met with a lot of scrutiny, right? A lot of people in the science world was like, yo, you can't say these things, you can't do these things, right? And it wasn't until the end of his life to after he died that they started thinking, hey, you know what, that Albert Einstein guy, he kind of knew what he was doing. He kind of understood things better than we even thought of, right? It wasn't until after he died they like realized, whoa, wait a minute, right? That whole E equals MC squared thing makes so much sense now, right? So he never got the respect, he never got the glory, he never got the honor that he deserved while he was living, right? That came later on in life, right? Another example, we're talking about legends, right? Remember, I said you're in a company of legends if you're thinking like this. Now we got the greatest of all times. We got Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali wasn't just a great boxer, right? Muhammad Ali was a visionary. Ali was a man who stood for principles, and even in a time where, as a black man, you can't stand on much of anything, right? As soon as they feel like you're standing too strong on something, oh, they're sure enough going to shut you out, kill you even, right? He was asked to fight in the military because in that time, they were drafting people in the war. He was asked to do so, and as his duty as an American citizen, he had to do it, but he refused to do it. They was like, all right, well, if you don't do this, we're going to take away everything that you worked hard for. We're going to take away your belt. We're going to take away your license, your permission to box. You're not going to have that. And then what you're going to do? We're going to basically take money out of your pocket because you don't want to do the things you're not going to conform to our way of thinking and the things that we want to do. Muhammad Ali said, you know what? Go right ahead. And the sacrifice that he made then made him stand out in such a way where at the time he did get some respect, but it's nowhere near in comparison to the type of respect that he gets now to this day, right? He's not only known as one of the greatest boxers, right? Everybody accepted that about Muhammad Ali. He was a great boxer, whether you were white, black, racist, not racist, whatever, boxing fan, not boxing fan, there's a lot of reference to him being the greatest, being one of the greatest, right? So he stood on his idea of being, right? Even as a boxer, he was one of the greatest. He was probably one of the cockiest, right? He would say things to get under his opponent's skin to the point where they really wanted to beat him bad, but he didn't let it get to him. He stayed on the path, right? Mike Tyson had a quote where he would say, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Right. And I love that quote. I love that quote because you might have an idea of what you want to do, but then as soon as adversity hit, oh, everything changed. But there are certain individuals that, in spite of adversity, in spite of opposition, in spite of the pushback that they get, they continue on that path of where they're going. Right. And it could be outside of the box. Most of the time it is outside of the box. But what happens is they let that resistance just cause them to rise, right? If you know how an airplane works or how an airplane flies, it needs that resistance in order to get off the ground. That airplane can go 100 miles an hour on a runway without the resistance of the wind. That airplane ain't going nowhere. It might get a little bit of lift, right, because of the speed that it's going, but eventually it's not getting anywhere. It's not going to take off, but it needs that constant resistance. Right. So if you find yourself in a position where you're thinking outside of the box and you have these ideas that are just extraordinary, no matter what it is, right? They're the only thing that's stopping you. The only thing that's preventing whatever that thing is from happening is the limitations you put on yourself. And the reason why I say that is because what someone says to you isn't them putting a limitation on you, right? You're the only person that can put a limitation on yourself, right? Because you can take what they say and it can roll off your back, right? Or you can take what they say and you can hold on to it. Like, well, I trust this person and I love this person. So since they said it, it has to be true. Well, what about you? What if you said it? It had to be true, right? What if the fact that you have this vision has so much purpose behind it that regardless of even what you think, it has to be true. And it's going to be true. The only limitation you have is for yourself. I heard this quote, all right? This is Bread and Bars podcast, so this is the bar that I heard. I heard that you cannot be assigned to break. I'm sorry. You can't, if you're going to break the curse of a generation, you can't seek approval from the generation that's cursed. Let me say that again. If you're going to break the curse of your generation, you can't seek approval from the generation that's cursed. And that became so powerful. Let me tell you, to me, I'm going to tell you personally, because I feel like I was called to break a curse in my generation. right? So many curses to break, right? But oftentimes in my life, in my 47 years of living, most of that included seeking approval from my mother, my father, my sister, my little brother, even my friends, my wife, my children, whatever the case may be. I've sought approval for everything I did. It's like, look what I can do. Look what I did. And if they approve it, I'm happy. I'm like, yeah, I made my mother proud, or I made my father proud, or this person likes me more now, or my kids want to be around me now because of this and because of that. But then I realized within doing that, I lost so much of myself. I've lost so much of what I became to be over the years. Like all the pain and the suffering that I went through and all of the big ideas that I had, I lost a lot of that because it didn't fit in with what other people accepted, right? So here it is in my later years, right, in life. I realized that I still have to keep hold of whatever that thing is. I have to hold that like it's my baby. Whatever big idea I have, whether it be out of the ordinary and out of the way of tradition, let me tell you, I do not like tradition. I don't like it. I don't like it. Um, I've seen where it was. I've seen some good things about tradition, like as far as Christmas is one of the biggest traditions that I love more than anything, right? But the whole tradition of Santa Claus, I never, I never liked it, right? I learned at an early age that Santa Claus wasn't real because I caught my grandmother and my mother putting gifts under the tree. So I didn't even bother asking questions at that point. I'm like, okay, well, if they're doing that, and I thought I heard them say something about buying gifts before, Santa Claus can't be real, right? And then because where I lived, it was very um let's say it wasn't a very friendly place, right? So a couple of kids got together and was like, "Yo, I saw Santa Claus get shot." So with that being said, it was certified that there was no Santa Claus. But anyway, back to the podcast, back to the episode and what we're talking about here. So I want you guys to realize that once again, you're in a company of legends. If you find yourself in a position where you're thinking outside of the block box and you're not met with congratulations, you're not met with the positive emotions. If anything, you're met with everything that would seemingly try to shut you down, right? The way you can look at that is the reason why you're met with that opposition, because we want to make sure, or the source of those ideas want to make sure that you have a good grasp of it, so that when things get tough, you're not gonna veer off the path, right? Because that vision that you have is not just for you, right? It's for you to grow, it's for you to incubate, it's for you to feed, right? And you'll benefit from it as well. But most importantly, just like if you're called to break a generation, or if you're called to shake up an industry, it's not going to be easy. But once again, you can handle it, right? That's why the task was given to you specifically, because you can handle it. All right. So I wrote this down. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you're facing doubt, if people are mocking your ambition, if you feel like no one understands your dream, if you're on the right path, because the truth is comfort doesn't create change. Playing small doesn't leave a legacy. And waiting for approval of small minded people, that's the fastest way to kill your potential. And you don't want to kill your potential simply because somebody can't think the way you think, or somebody doesn't understand what you've been led to understand. So be bold, be misunderstood, be willing to be ostracized. Um, just be willing to be out there on your own. Right? That's how you really learn how to grow, how you're strengthened in whatever it is that you're doing. So chase your dream, and when the world doesn't get it, just smile, because they're not supposed to. right? So my challenge to you as we're closing, my challenge to you is this. I want you to write down, if you haven't done so already, I want you to write down one dream that you have, just one dream. And to the best of your ability, I want you to write down what are some things that you can do each and every day to bring that dream into fruition. Small things. It doesn't have to be big, just small things. 4 or 5 small things that you can do each and every day that may not cost you anything, or it costs you whatever you can afford if it costs money. But also write those things down, and I want you to create a story in your mind. I want you to create a story in your mind that involves your emotions. I want you to involve your emotion about how you feel about whatever the story is. I want you to 5 minutes, a 5 minute story, if that. I want you to talk to yourself, sort of like making an affirmations, but in story mode. I want you to talk to yourself, and I want you to talk to yourself as if you're telling a story about you fulfilling that dream or you fulfilling that purpose. What is life like? A 5 minute story. And if you don't have the creativity, I'll encourage you to use Chat GPT, to create the story for you. But either way, whatever you choose to do, write that story and let that be the story that you tell yourself every day. Because what happens when you do that is that will start to drown out all the negative conversation that other people are having about your dream. Because most important is how you take it and how you speak about it. Once again, guys, this is another episode of Bread and Bars podcast. I want to thank you all for watching. It's truly a blessing to be able to share this message with you. I hope this resonates with somebody out there. I hope the person that needs to hear this really hears this. Now, this is a brand new podcast, so I don't have any optimization going on. So this may not go out. So if you see this message, it was meant for you to see today, right? As time goes on, I'm sure you will see it. You may see it the day that I post it. You may see it 5 years from now, right? Today is what? We're in the middle of February in 2025, right? So I want to thank you guys for watching once again. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Make sure you like. Turn on your post notifications so that whenever I upload a new video, you will know when it comes out. So you won't have to call me and say, hey, when the next episode is coming out. If you turn on your notifications, you will see it. So again, I'm going to post this everywhere. If you see it, if you can, share this with somebody you know. Share this with somebody I know, right, or somebody that might enjoy this, and I really appreciate it. So until the next time, thank you again for watching the Bread and Bars podcast. This is Sean. You guys have a great day. It was fun.